What's up, everybody? This is Antonio Moore coming to you from Tonetalks. We're about to have a great show about a phenomenal movie, King Richard. Let's let everybody fall in because we're about to talk about it. I see everybody in the chat. What up with y'all? What up with y'all? King Richard. It was a phenomenal film. Kudos to Will Smith, to Richard Williams, to Serena Williams, to Venus Williams, to everyone that was involved. I walked in expecting a good film and walked out with a phenomenal film. To me, it's one of the best films I've seen, black films capturing black family in quite some time. For me, it's the best black film I've seen since NWA. Again, kudos to Will Smith. We're going to go through a whole slew of articles where we go through an analysis of what we saw unpacking this film. We got people all across the country. Again, this is going to have some spoilers in it, so if you haven't seen it, maybe you might want to wait to watch. But if you are okay hearing, because you already know the story, stay tuned in. Please share this video, support the channel. Let's use hashtag King Richard. Let's share this with Venus and Serena. They need, and also Will Smith. Everybody needs love with the project they created. But we also going to have to talk about some of these oddball criticisms that have come out of feminism about this film that don't understand race. We're going to talk about some of the poorly written articles out there critiquing this film, along with some of the irrational critiques. We're going to talk about it today. Let me let everybody fall in here. I got the real Charlotte ADOS. I got JLM, ADOS Irvine out here. Shout out to you. Man, y'all ready to talk about this King Richard? Can we talk? We're going to take calls at some point so everybody can get a feel for this subject matter. But to me, again, this film was simply phenomenal. From the sets, the movie sets they used, to the actual host of characters and casting that they used. The young woman that played Venus, she was in Fences. She was the daughter in Fences. Towards the end of Fences, Denzel's second daughter, or second child, his daughter, she was that character in Fences. So she's been acting quite some time. She did a phenomenal job. The young girl that played Serena was good as well. And of course, both Will Smith and the woman that played their mother was phenomenal. She was phenomenal in a number of films. So often we don't get to celebrate. We have to talk about the wrong casting and ADOS people not being casted and all this. Today, we're going to take a day to celebrate a black film about black family and black love. One of the things I want to slow down is for those people that don't seem to understand, this was not a Venus and Serena Williams biopic. This was not a biopic about Serena and Venus Williams. This was a story about the Williams family as told through the central figure of King Richard, who made this engine go. Whether you understand that or not, that's your problem. Them two girls understand it. We'll talk about what they've said about their father. And if they understand it, meaning Venus and Serena, you ain't got no business with it. Too many people got mouths chirping because we ain't produced no Michael Jackson. We ain't produced no Venus Williams because everybody kowtowing to white feminism. Talk about it. Talk about it. Everybody got something to say. Now, I'm not condoning no violence or no infidelity or whatever other criticism, but that ain't got no place in this movie. Nobody got to the end of Tina Turner's movie and asked why they didn't show more of the drug use or why they didn't show her cheating on Ike Turner. That don't got no place in the movie. Now, if we didn't say that then, why we got to say it now? Because there's a serious problem with black men, with the way that black women are attacked, both by white women and black women and white women with black women. This is the story of what happened. We weren't there. If this is the story of what happened and the people there want to see it done this way, we ain't got no business but to watch. Can I say it? Got a lot of people mad because that methodology, be humble. Let me say it again. What did he say? Be humble. I don't want them celebrating and dancing and all that on top of winning. If that kind of approach led to not one, but two Michael Jordans in Venus and Serena, because a lot of people forget Venus was on the way. I think she got hurt and went through some sickness, but Venus was Serena before Serena was Serena. There will be no Serena without Venus. Ask Serena. And there will be no Serena and Venus without Richard. Ask Venus and Serena. Can we talk? We're going to talk about it today because they don't understand. There's a serious problem going on with black men. Everybody gets to attack them and make up stories. Nobody would say that if this was a black mother. Not black men. Black men would say. Because if this is what happened, we want to hear it. Now, what I love about this story is this isn't just about King Richard. This is about the Williams family. The support mechanism of the sisters, the support mechanism of a mother who helped Serena get her serve right. The support mechanism of a family for a black man who's only a security guard in his dream for his daughters and for the whole family to get up out of Compton and into $1 million home. Shout out. We're going to talk about it. But you ain't got to take my word for it. All right? My dad was way before his time. Serena Williams speaks on dad's personality and how it led to success in her career. Again, 310-388-3499 to call in. Please share this video, subscribe, press the notification. We're about to get right into it, the discussion. And we're going to talk about this movie. We're going to give it its flowers. And then we're going to go after these critics and let them know it is not your place to critique something that you don't understand. Now, if one of the sisters came out and said that ain't the way it happened, that's a whole different story. But since them sisters cried when they watched this movie, I'm going to cry right with them and say this was phenomenal and Will Smith should win an Oscar behind this film. Black family in Compton getting together, going on this ride all the way to the top of American tennis. My dad was way before his time. Serena Williams speaks on dad's personality, how it led to success in her career. Serena and Venus Williams are two names that have carried on for years in the tennis world. Many who are familiar with their story are aware that the two started playing tennis at a young age. It was their father, Richard Williams, who was the catalyst for their current success and legendary status in tennis. While it's been told before now, the story about Richard introducing the sport to his daughters is getting told in more detail in the movie called King Richard. Giving some insight into what her father is like, Serena told GQ for a September feature on Will Smith, my dad was and still is way before his time. It was way before his time. Serena, a 23-time Grand Slam winner, had a simple answer for that. There would be no Venus and Serena if it wasn't for Richard. She said in August during the Refinery 29 interview. The mother of one said he's always thinking on a different level. Even now, he is always thinking 5 steps above everyone else. And the way he taught tennis with techniques, the way he pushed myself and my sister, it was a great opportunity to tell his story. And I commend these young sisters for letting this man get his flowers. Because so often, you got to realize this man came from deep south, went through all kinds of things. I'm not condoning anything he did wrong. But so often, we don't get to give him his flowers. And they didn't have to do it this way. But this is not a biopic or biopic about either one of them. This is a story about how the Williams family rose to the occasion through one black man's eyes. It is a story of how one black man, with his daughters in tow, stood up against white oppression. See, a lot of people that don't know American race don't understand what they were looking at. They were looking at him protecting his family. He said it in the movie. What did he say? He said, my daddy sent me in that store and I touched this white man's hands and got kicked on. When I looked up, my daddy had ran off. I didn't want to run off on my daughters. Let me take the first caller of the night. I think they got a call back. Caller, call back. So many people don't understand the level of what we've seen. To me, what we saw is one of the great performances in the last 10 years. Will Smith was going to wear prosthetics. He didn't wear prosthetics. He went ahead with the performance. And performed, did he not? People in the chat, did he perform right? For those people that watched the movie? How do you think he did as Richard Williams? Because for me, he was phenomenal. He captured the essence of what it was to stand against a hurricane of white oppression. What you mean impossible? He said, what you mean impossible? He said, I don't want my daughters with you. We walking away from this. They walked away from $4 million from Nike, ended up with $12 million from Adidas because they believed in that family. We watched a black family movie, not a movie about two sisters. See, a lot of white people, white women in particular, are using these sisters to weaponize against black family, not just black men. Can you see it? Can you see it? And not enough black women are saying enough. Now, I'm gonna say I commend the young lady. It's the last clip I got here. As one of the sisters in King Richard, I hope you get a chance to watch our work and take some time. Come on. And this is her response. To look into the Williams family role in making this film. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. The origin stories of black icons deserve space and to be told as they desire. We're gonna get into Dr. Jessica Taylor, who talked about why was it told through the dad. But I commend her. This is one of the actresses, I believe, that was in the film for saying this, but that's not enough. You needed to tell this woman, you don't understand black family in America. You don't understand what we made, the project. And as a result, just be a fan and shut up. So we saw with King Richard and Will Smith one of the great performances of his career, I have to say. And I think for so long, we've been waiting for Will Smith to give us something like this. And he did. He delivered. I want to read some of this review here. Former Fresh Prince Will Smith gives the performance of his life in King Richard in theaters and on HBO Max. Destined for awards glory, Smith sends the story of Richard Williams, the hard-driving father coach of tennis champs Venus and Serena, to the winner's circle. From the first sight of Richard wrangling his girls to Beyonce's power ballading Be Alive over the end credits, King Richard easily reigns as the feel-good movie of the year. And if it sandpapers off Richard's rougher edges, that's what happens when a biopic comes with family approval. King Richard is Smith's show. Venus and Serena are still teens dreaming of Wimbledon when the film wraps. But Audrey Ellis as Brandy Richard's wife and the mother of 5 daughters is an unshakable source of love and balance and a magnificent portrayal that deserves showers and raves. For those people that don't know, this film was something else. This film was something else. And I think for some of us that weren't there, that don't know about them walking into white oppression, the mouth of white oppression as a family, this man with 6 women, his wife and his 5 daughters. Do you know what that looks like? Do you know what that feels like? No, you don't. Because it's 2021. Since we already know that Venus and Serena will hit it big, King Richard tells us what we don't know, which is how they got there, taking life lessons from an overbearing father whose persecution by the KKK in his native Louisiana magnified his determination to call the shots, even if it means breaking winds at bigots who don't think his Black life matters. Set in South Central Los Angeles in the 90s era of Rodney King and drive-by shootings, the film spins around Richard's 78-page manifesto to make grand slammers out of Venus and Serena, his only biological children with Brandy. But first, Richard needs to get his family out of Compton with his ragged public tennis courts and into restrictively white game of tennis. For those people that don't understand, at that time, we're coming out of Arthur Ashe came around and he influenced a whole generation of young blacks, particularly black men, to play tennis at Dorsey and schools like that. Freeway Rick played tennis. It's in the documentary. I seen like Freeway Rick had put money behind his nephew, and his nephew got up to number, I think, 10 in the world or something, or age bracket 18, because it takes a lot of money. So there was this second wave that came off of the first wave of Arthur Ashe, I guess you can call it the third wave, that influence led black men to want their children to play tennis, but there still was all these obstacles of cost, of training, and things of the sort. And I think for a lot of us today, we look at this as if it was easy because we deduct and take out the race of it all. We take out how this all happened. 310-388-3499. I want to hear from you. If you watched the movie or you planning to watch the movie and you remember what happened, give me your story because I want to hear what you got to say. But before I hear what you got to say, let's hear what Venus and Serena had to say. Now, I want to say, I hope this man pulls through, but he had 2 strokes, as I understand, and he's not doing too well. Serena and Venus Williams' father, Richard Williams, is in poor health. I hope that he does better, but cried. They cried all the way through King Richard. They loved it. Venus and Serena were really excited about the possibility, and they said that they would potentially be executive producers. So as I understand it, they didn't come onto the film until it was finished as executive producers, giving their final stamp of approval. Venus and Serena were really excited about the possibility, and they said that they would potentially be executive producers, and they would walk us through the whole process. But they were going to withhold whether or not they put their names on the film until they saw it, said Smith. So then I get the call that Venus and Serena are walking into the theater to see the film, he continued. It's the worst 2 hours ever. The worst, and this is Will Smith talking, the worst 2, because you spend so much time creating these things, and there is literally only one audience when you do it. You hope they like it, meaning Venus and Serena. Fortunately, the stars enjoyed the movie. Smith said Venus and Serena cried all the way through. They loved it. When we heard, this is the words of Venus, when we heard that Will wanted to do it, it was like, oh my God, this movie is going to be the real deal. Whatever film he's in is the real deal. We got the sense of this is going to be big. As for whether Richard has seen the film, 79 years old, Venus and Serena recently told EW that they weren't sure whether he had viewed it yet. The outlet reported that COVID kept Richard away from the set, and he did not participate in the interviews. Again, he had strokes, as I understand it. How many people got to see the film in the chat? Please let us know what you thought in the chat, or call in 310-388-3499. And I think this was a hard one to digest for so many people because this is black sisters giving their daddy his flowers. Now, he might have been flawed. Now, he might have made mistakes. Now, that needs to be in the movie. And for me, as I watch, as I listen, all I do is sit from the outside and commend this man for pushing. Welcome to the Williams Show. I think this was Indian Wells where he held this sign up. He foresaw it and he pushed for it and he made that dream happen. For a lot of people, that's hard to see because usually we don't put that work in. King Richard and reclaiming Richard Williams' legacy. In King Richard, Venus and Serena's dad is the hero. The media didn't always treat him that way. If you've been watching Serena and Venus Williams since the beginning, you watched them play for almost 30 years. Their tennis career are old enough to be millennials with over 1,600 singles wins. These sisters have over 1,600 singles wins, 122 single titles, and 30 Grand Slam singles combined. They will go down in history as two of the greatest female tennis players of all time, with Serena arguably being the greatest player in history. In my mind, she is the greatest player in history. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Tone? This is Frank from Fawcett Media, calling from LA.
What's up, Frank?
What's happening, man?
Give me your
take on it. Okay.
Give me your take on it.
Oh, yeah. I thought I was just hearing a lot of background. But yeah, excellent film. Excellent film. And as somebody who's had over 20 years in the film industry, it's a treat to actually see a time where a black father is celebrated and a black father that had a dream and a mission. You know, like he really put it on table that, you know, he had a plan. And though sometimes these plans can seem lofty and sometimes they can seem outlandish, there was something realistic about the plan because he knew in the back of your mind he's about to make this thing happen. He had to deal with the gangs and, you know, all the elements that were going on in that era because he's right in the middle of crack era. So that's right up ADOS, a true ADOS story, like, you know what I'm saying? And Will actually stepped up to the plate too, man. I thought all the performances were great. Will actually took his time and practiced the vocal pattern. You know what I mean? I feel like I didn't so much like him in Ali because I thought he was too dead on and he kind of missed some of the other stuff, but he brought the heart out in the character of Richard Williams. You know, this larger than life figure who's standing right next to us.
You know something?
You know what I'm saying? Somebody amazing.
You know, when I was running around with Rick and we was doing the little trying to get to the biopic together and we did the documentary, I met with a cast of characters. Two that come to mind. One is I met the guy that did the ears for Will Smith and Ali because he did Miss Doubtfire. So it was a prosthetic that kept Will Smith's ears looking like Ali's because, as you know, Will Smith's ears kind of poke out. But it's interesting because I think one of the things that allowed him to really capture this is it came down to acting instead of prosthetics because they decided not to use prosthetics and just focus. Yep. And we don't know. I mean, we know generally what he looks like. We didn't need prosthetics. Those just delivered the performance. And I think as a result, he delivered. I mean, he delivered a phenomenal performance. Now, the other thing I'll say is the other interesting character that I got to meet with was, let me see if I have it here.
His mother, Anjanou Ellis. Oh my God!
No, I was saying
Venus and Serena's mother.
Yeah, she was phenomenal as well. I got to meet with Jill Smoller some years ago at WME and William Morris Endeavor, and Smoller is actually Serena's agent. We met for like 40 minutes. Me, Rick, and her. We were supposed to be there to meet Ari at William Morris, but we meet with her. I go in the room. We go into her office, and guess what she has? She has all kind of trophies from Wimbledon and from French Open, but they're all the second place trophies. What she said is,
trophies, huh?
well, no. What happens is Serena don't keep second place. So if she get in second, that's what she. So the second place trophies are in her office. She wants the first place. What I'm alluding to is, in a way, what this man, and I think they even showed it in the film where she had the silver and then she wanted the gold. What I'm alluding to is the amount of confidence and self-pride that this man had to push into his daughters for them to accomplish this goal that now with Sloane Stephens and with the young Haitian and a Japanese young woman, I forgot her name, but it's much more normal. This was an all-white sport.
Naomi Osaka.
Yes,
Osaka.
I apologize for not knowing her name. But this is normal now. In that era, it was not just unheard of. There was a sense that we couldn't play tennis. What you have to understand is with no money, no tennis background, what this man was able to do was propel his black family into the mouth of white oppression and force white oppression to recognize, yes, they can. Not just Serena, not just Venus, our family can. And I think for a lot of people that are on the outside, they don't understand that this is a story about the Williams and white oppression just as much as it's a story about the ascension of particularly Venus, but Venus and Serena. What you also have as an undertone, and I'm going to read some of this article right now to you and get your opinion, is you have an undertone of an attack, a criticism of how white people raise their children. Let me tell you what I mean. What Richard was saying is you're not going to burn my daughters out on the junior circuit the way y'all do y'all babies. My daughters are going to have a regular childhood. They're going to go to Disney World. They're going to recognize that tennis ain't everything. We going to raise our daughters the way we do, and if we fail as a result, we will have failed raising whole people. While white fathers, they showed about 3, 4, 5 of them, were in there pissed off looking at their daughters as business concepts, as investments. Did you see that part?
Yeah, and that made a total difference in how they approach the pro. Because when they were ready, they were chomping at the bit to get in the pro arena.
And they weren't burnt
too. Like,
yeah, they weren't all burnt out from doing all of the other stuff. Yes, man.
Venus was hungry. You could see the girl was playing Venus. Like she had a fire in her eyes at that point. She was ready. Now she's like, look, I'm ready. I want to do it.
Yeah, let me read some of this article to you.
That's important.
Let me read some of this article. Again, 310-388-3499. I want to hear from you if you watch this film.
Hey, Tom.
Yes.
I do have one more point about the director, too. Because the director's life, I personally know him. I went to school with his brother.
Okay.
As Ronaldo Marcus Green.
Okay.
Excellent brother. He was a baseball player. Both him and his brother were baseball players. And, you know, he went through the whole process and raised by a strong ADOS father. They had a Puerto Rican mother, but that strong ADOS father. And I think that's why he was attracted to this story. And you could kind of tell there was some care behind the lens in addition to this. But
I agree. And so I want to share some of this powerful, great article out of Vox and go read it yourself. King Richard and Reclaiming Richard Williams' Legacy. Because a lot of people don't remember that Richard was casted as a villain. See, what happened, and the reason why a lot of these, I think, white women are confused is because they don't know what happened. They don't understand how central he was in the creation of these young girls. How he was going to, that video where Richard says to the reporter, she done told you what she going to tell you. That video captures how strong a figure he was. And what you don't understand, if you don't understand, what you shouldn't be talking about as a white feminist is what you were watching is black women that understood he is fighting white oppression, not trying to talk over me. Because white oppression will have me sign any contract. My daddy, he ain't gonna let me sign nothing that ain't good for us. And I don't think a lot of people understood that counterplay, that he wasn't just taking power out of their hands. He was working a Picasso-type painting of how you deal with white oppression. It reminds me of Adolf. A lot of people don't understand. We're in a moment not just of wealth calcification, but where white people got all the wealth. Ain't no MSNBC anchor gonna get you there. You're gonna have to stand up and you're gonna have to tell white oppression no. You're gonna have to say I'm voting down ballot to demand all the ballot. Because what's happening now is that too many people around you are cow-cowing. They think they're gonna tiptoe their way to the top. You don't tiptoe your way to being Venus and Serena. You bust doors down. Let me read some of this article to explain it. But their dazzling on-court accomplishments only tell one piece of the story, often leaving out, and again, we went through the first part, all the Grand Slam wins, all the singles wins. They got 30 Grand Slams between them. But their dazzling on-court accomplishments only tell one piece of the story, often leaving out how much their parents, Richard and Oracene, sacrificed study and work to make their daughters the best tennis players in the world. The glow from those wins can also obscure how the family endured racist attacks, hostile treatment from other players, unfounded allegations of match fixing, y'all remember that, and skewed media coverage. Shout out again to Will Smith, to Richard Williams, to Oracene Williams, to Venus and Serena Williams for creating a project that was true to Black America. Caller, I'm going to let you go and get to another caller. Thank you so much for calling in. Woo-wee! This is a great show. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Ivory. I'm calling out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Give me your take on this before I continue on with this article, because it was a great one that kind of summarizes what's going on around this film.
Man, I thought it was a great movie, man. I really, really appreciated them showing a black man standing up for his family and trying to be successful, man, with his babies. I thought it was awesome.
I did too. What was your favorite part?
Man, my favorite part was him standing up for his daughters at the tennis court, man. I mean, it was sad that he had to, stand against the young black man in the neighborhood, but I was really proud, that he stood, man, for his babies. That was one of my favorite parts.
My favorite part, let me tell you my favorite part. My favorite part was be humble. And it wasn't I had a lot of favorite parts. I'm gonna be honest. First of all, I'm gonna be honest. But the be humble part between it wasn't just him saying that. It was the mama saying, "You're not gonna leave my babies," because what you're seeing is this. For those people that saw Fences captured a generational shift as Black people moved out of the 30s into the 60s, and the gap in opportunity that happened as a result, exposure. People that are fresh out of slavery, either coming from a slave, and sometimes even slaves themselves, to people that were born out of slavery. As a result, what Fences kind of talked about when it came to Denzel Washington was how his father treated him so poorly because he didn't know no better. What you saw with Venus and Serena in this humble scene, we're talking about from the store all the way to the Disney film, is a man that's growing. Is a mother that ain't gonna let him not grow. Is a mother that won't let him use hard lessons that don't get the point across, but respects his willingness to make the point. So you're gonna get my baby, she said. You're not gonna let him walk that far. Commend her. She killed the scene. But then what she did also was let him play the tape, and everybody as a family watched the tape. And at the end, he tells them all, not just Venus and Serena, he tells them all, be humble. Now, in addition, we have another scene that brings it home. For all those people that don't know what they're watching, the white man comes to the white man that's the first coach that Richard convinced to take on Venus and Serena with Pete Sampras. He come trying to resell the bad deal that came around the first time. Richard said, we don't want that deal. Now, I don't agree necessarily that he shouldn't have went over it with them and everything else. But what I respect is Oracene was quiet the whole time. We will talk about it afterwards, and I'm going to let you know, don't do it again. And we saw the growth later on with the film with the Nike deal and Richard. But she was quiet there because she respects that he's a man and that he is fighting white oppression. Thank you so much for calling. Man, we talking about this. We trying to give flowers to this wonderful, wonderful Black film. We ain't going to let nobody get us out of our shine. Thank you so much for calling in. Give me some sisters that call in. I want to hear about what you have to say about this film. We're going to continue on with this very powerful article out of Vox that frames for us what was going on around these people as they went through this journey. The new movie King Richard, directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green and starring Will Smith, aims to tell a previously unheard story of the Williams family's triumphs through the lens of their father, Richard. It's less about the sisters' accomplishments than how Richard plans to give them a better life through tennis. It's also an often clear-eyed look at how poorly Richard and his family were treated. Let me say that again. For those, because we're gonna come to this with this white woman who later on says who got that she mad because they told the story through a man and this, that, and the other. That's because that's what the story is. It's not a biopic of Venus or Serena. I mean, we had a biopic about no Michael Jordan. We had one about Ali because Ali was a figure who went through stuff outside the ring. We don't really do these kind of biopics about just a sports figure. The story is the Williams family. Maybe you're confused because you're in England. Maybe you're confused because you're in England. You don't understand that you should have shut up and never talked about this topic because you don't understand what you're talking about. I wouldn't talk about nothing if they started showing what's going on with the Irish or the English. I don't know. This has been the problem of the doorway, I believe, that Black feminism has created, is it's made it so that these people feel they first person. They get to talk now, think about it later. Did they seriously make a film called King Richard about the success of Serena and Venus Williams, but it's about their dad? No, it's about their family. See, I don't even know how you watch this film and don't know that. It's about racism. It's about their mother. It's about how you bust down doors. And here we have it. This is my response. The problem when you interject raceless feminism into a country that had Adolf slavery, American descendants of slavery, and where white women live on the inherited wealth of white male patriarchy, as a result being part of the patriarchy. Utter nonsense. King Richard. Her other tweet was, I get this has annoyed people, but I genuinely didn't expect a film about two of the most powerful, successful, and amazing Black female athletes to be named after a man or center a man. Come back to the Vox review. It says, it's less about the sisters' accomplishments than how Richard plans to give them a better life through tennis. It is a view of a Black family. How does this woman not understand that she don't understand what she was talking about? She don't understand that we were watching a journey, a racial journey. Richard Williams didn't look like the tennis establishment. To understand the animosity and media pressure the Williams family experienced, you have to understand how insular tennis is and how that environment magnified the classist and racist attacks thrown their way. Traditionally, tennis is a sport that wealthy, predominantly white people play. Professional lessons are expensive. Court time isn't necessarily easy to come by, and you can't play by yourself, which means you join in a group lessons or academies. Kids who are good enough enter high-profile tournaments that are affiliated with the USTA, United States Tennis Association, and really good ones go on to elite junior international tournaments. International, meaning they're flying over the ocean in the 90s, getting passports. Come on. All the while, there's a system of tennis clubs, coaches, sponsors, former players, tennis organizations, and everyone in between. And in between that, you have to take these two chocolate babies and keep affirming you are beautiful, you are smart, you are good, you are great. We're not signing that bad deal because it's a bad deal, and I can't explain it to you now, but you will thank me later. And that is what Serena was saying. He tells Serena, Venus gonna be number one, but you're gonna be the greatest of all time. You raw now. I keep you in the shadows on purpose. The Williams family absolutely did not fit in the mold. Richard grew up poor in Shreveport, Louisiana, and didn't know a lick about tennis. He saw to it that his daughter played selectively in junior tournaments and focused on their school work first. Aside from a brief stint with legendary coach Rick Macy, Richard took over and was their primary coach when they made their professional debuts. Come on. Can we talk about it? 310-388-3499. Y'all hearing this? Y'all hearing this? Whew. Whew, man. They just, the media never gave him the time of day because Richard didn't come from a tennis background. Katrina Adams, a former top 10 doubles player and top 100 singles player, told me Adams is the first Black woman to serve as the president, chair, and CEO of USTA. It was very difficult for the media to think anything different than existing stigmas and stereotypes. As Black people, we couldn't possibly be smart to have the plan that Mr. Williams had in place. Our girls couldn't possibly be that disciplined. That's what the media assumed. This is what Richard said. And he said this in an actual book, a memoir. My plan was simple: to bring two children out of the ghetto to the forefront of a white-dominated game. Could it be done? I hope so. In fact, I was beyond hope. I was certain, Richard Williams wrote in the 2014 memoir. Eliminating the last doubts from my mind, I wrote a final 75-page tennis training plan for myself, Orsine, and my daughters to be. This is before they're born, detailing every step of the road we would travel, more than 2.5 years before they were born. When Venus and Serena started winning, Williams never stopped reminding anyone watching. He famously, and we showed it earlier, let me show it again while I read this part. He famously held up a whiteboard sign during the 99 Lipton Championships, Serena's and Venus' first big tournament final, with messages like, "Welcome to the Williams show, and I told you so." Now, some people would say that's too much. I mean, they say that with LeVar Ball. But his boys is balling. Now, this is something altogether different because we talking about a sport that ain't full of black chocolate players. We talking about a sport full of white oppression, full of white people that don't want you here. Right now, this is an interview where Venus and Serena early on are talking. Right now, I'm number 5. Soon I'll be number 4, and that's great. One day I'll win the French Open, and that'll be great. Then I'll have to move on and win Wimbledon. This is Venus Williams in 1999 in Sports Illustrated, 22 years ago. In that same interview, Serena vowed to win a Grand Slam too. I can see myself lifting that Wimbledon plate for sure. I just can't see it not happening. You don't get that strong and that willed and that way without somebody pushing you. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't just him. The mama was key too. But this man believed. And I think for us, we weren't there. Now, what I think also is when we watch this movie, let's let it be a movie. Let's let the movie stand on its own and not interject ourselves. Let's not get into the habit of overstating what our own mission is. Let me explain. A lot of y'all will watch this movie and think your kid is going to be tennis stars. I want to show something to you, to give you context. This first dot is Compton. This second dot is Palos Verdes Country Club. It's in the movie. It is exactly 19 miles apart. Without traffic, it's about 30 minutes. With traffic, it's an hour. This man in that old car was taking his daughters an hour, 45 minutes one way, 45 minutes the other way, and practicing with them 2 to 3 hours. That is 5 hours. That is 5 hours he's probably doing 3 to 5 times a week. It is that commitment that he had that so many of us will understate, will act like we can replicate in this era when wealth is calcified. Because he's in another whole time period. He's in the 90s. White people got like $27 trillion. They have 125 now. That means them coaches, they ain't turning down the kind of money they get on coaching now. He caught lightning in the bottle is what I'm saying. What I don't want you to do is get into the habit of trying to learn tennis so you can make your daughters Venus and Serena instead of appreciating what this was for what it was, a lightning in the bottle. And I'm saying that just for you to slow that down because we ain't going to get away from this article. It's so powerful. 310-388-3499 to call in. Critics said Richard Williams was a bad influence on Venus and Serena. I'm spending time on this Vox article because it was just that good. That same year, Hall of Famer Martina Navratilova told reporters that there wasn't any racism in tennis. In fact, she claimed that Venus and Serena enjoyed privilege because they were black. There's no racism as far as I know. I think that people have been treating them with kid gloves because they're African American. And if they were white, they would have been told off before and more. That's what they was dealing with. People that said it wasn't racism, people that said that they didn't go through it. Can we talk? She also implied that Richard was a bad influence and that they would be better off without him. The girls are great. They're great athletes, nice women. I like them a lot. Their father seems to be getting in the way. That's what I have to say about that. And he's probably going to yell at me next time he sees me. Part of the reason that you're going to say that is because without him in the way, you can sign a Nike contract for $1 million when you deserve 12. Part of that is that you can get them to do juniors and burn themselves out without him in the way. Part of that is without him in the way, they don't exist. So you can just have it all white people play tennis. They did this to Joe Jackson. They did it to, it's something else that Joe Jackson and Richard Williams produced. Michael Jackson, Venus Williams, Serena Williams. Just saying. King Richard might be for the people who never believed in him. There's an exquisite example of Richard Williams' behavior caught on tape. People remember this. It's gone viral. In an interview for ABC News from 1995, with correspondent John McKenzie. I think Serena is like 14. Venus is 14. Serena got to be like 10. McKenzie is interviewing 14-year-old Venus about her tennis dreams. And he asked her why she's so confident. Now, we're going to pause there. From the gangbanger that he told to stop messing with the older sister and dealt with all the blows that came with it, to this interviewer and telling this interviewer off. This man was protecting his daughters from an onslaught of a world that would disregard them at every turn. Now, however you see it is how you see it. But how they see it, I already done said it. They see him as genius. Each time, so did you think that you could be her? Mackenzie, the interviewer, asked Venus. You say it so easily. Why? Understand, this girl, 14, black, playing tennis. Each time Venus responds with a smile, telling him she's very confident. But after prodding her confidence one more time, Richard interrupts. He tells Mackenzie not to undermine her. He says, you've got to understand that you're dealing with the image. And let's pull it up so that we get some context of what we've seen. You've got to understand that you're dealing with the image of a 14-year-old child. And this child gonna be out there playing when your old ass and me going to the grave. And they are. Serena's still playing. He wasn't joking. I know he was interviewing Venus at the time, but Serena's still playing. And Venus still playing. She went through some health issues. And this child gonna be still playing when we in the grave. When she say something, we done told you what's happening. What you're dealing with is a little black kid. And let her be a kid. She done answered it with a lot of confidence. Leave that alone. That's how you burn them out. You don't stand up to that. 310-388-3499. You allow somebody to run them over. But when you got a daddy like Richard, that don't happen. All that get blocked. You don't have to do 100 juniors matches and lose and sit in the corner. You come out straight to the pros because you good enough. You good enough. Man, if this wasn't a movie, and if I don't commend this man for making this movie, Will Smith and the director and everybody else, but in the context of making this movie, they dealt with some criticism, right? Before we get to the criticism, let's talk about some of the cast. You had commend the young lady who came out of Fences and played Venus. She was phenomenal. Young lady played Serena, was phenomenal. The mother was casted phenomenally. Will Smith, of course, should win an Oscar behind this film. All of the cast I commend. But let's get right into this nonsense that we've seen on the internet. It came off of a specific statement by a white woman that ain't even in America on top of it. Sexist claims over King Richard surfaced despite Venus and Serena Williams serving as executive producers. A Twitter user sparked outrage. So now let's go back to that Twitter user. Did they seriously make a film called King Richard about the success of Serena and Venus Williams, but it's about their dad, Richard? That's her takeaway from watching that 2-hour and 20-minute movie. That tells you that she walked in there with an agenda. She don't understand the film. So she wrote that, and the they she's referring to is, in fact, Serena and Venus. Taylor added, I get this has annoyed people, but I generally didn't expect a film about two of the most powerful, successful, amazing black athletes to be named after a man. This is Dr. Jessica Taylor. She lived in England. She was born in England. She's a women's rights advocate. Commend her for doing that, whatever she does with that. I would never think if they write a movie about women's rights and then they had a little black child, I'm gonna run in there and say, should have made the black child the biggest part of it because it's not my place. This is her Wikipedia. I'm only sharing what's public. Dr. Jessica Taylor is a registered psychologist, feminist author, and campaigner. She was a senior lecturer in forensic and criminological psychology at the University of Derby. Again, this is England. Taylor grew up in a council estate in Stoke-on-Trent. For so many people, this is hard to digest. And as a result, we're getting a lot of nonsense that comes out. We're getting criticisms of the movie for not elevating his flaws. when the movie is about the family told through his lens. You got a young woman that wrote this for the HuffPost. It was one of the worst articles I've ever read. It's just poorly written. It's titled King Richard and the Delicate Dance of Exalting a Flawed Black Man. The first paragraph of the whole article is about Diddy. It's about, literally, the first paragraph of this article is about Sean Diddy Combs. Back in 2006, Essence Magazine ran a cover story with Sean Diddy Combs and his off-again real girlfriend, the late Kim Porter, blah, 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 blah. 3 sentences, 4 sentences about Diddy. And what we're watching, I don't know how to write. But skipping down, that interview, this is the second paragraph, came to mind after watching King Richard. That's what's filling your mind, is Diddy's life. The heartening and wonderful acted family drama that traces tennis icons Venus and Serena Williams' record-breaking ascent. That's not what the film traces in and of itself. It traces the. See, a lot of people are struggling because maybe they didn't experience this at home, and part of it is because we don't have Black community, so you don't really know what you're looking at. This film is less about their ascent because it's woven in there, and more about Black family and Black community. Because their father, Richard, exalted even in the movie title, is also portrayed as an exemplary figure whose transgressions, including his extramarital affairs, are virtually relegated to footnotes in favor of a hagiographical profile. Why would that be a big part of the film? Please explain. It makes no sense. Look, find me the black man who watched Tina Turner at the end of the Tina Turner film said, man, they should have showed all the bad stuff she did to Ike too. What's wrong with people to write this? That his transgressions were briefly covered, and they didn't need to be in there. When the mama says about your children outside the marriage, that's not for this film. Now, if you want a documentary, you can go find a documentary or make one. But this criticism of this movie with Diddy on the top makes no sense. For me, I have to ask, how do articles like this get made? Well, when you have editor rooms like that. Patriarchy is about white family, not white men. That's the way, because the wealth transfers in America to men and women. There was a widowocracy, I talked about it last week, I believe, or actually a week before that, in America, where massive slaveholdings were transferred to white wives as the husbands died throughout the 1700s in Virginia. One of the main assets transferred to white women was not property, it was not money, it was slaves. 40% of slave owners, white women. Even today, when people inherit, they inherit as women and men. Notice anything about this room, I noticed that it's full of women that had advantage of being white. Instead, what people, I guess, are trying to say is that there's a bunch of women. Where the Black men at? Where the Black women? But that's how you get these kind of subjects. This is another section. Like when he forces his daughters, in addition to Venus and Serena, Tunde, Isha, and Linda, to rewatch a classic film right after it goes off. They didn't rewatch it. He was gonna rewatch it, but they didn't press play. He said, okay. He went with the lesson. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. Read it again. Like when he forces his daughters to rewatch a class, he didn't force them to rewatch a film. You can't make up facts on top of being wrong about the movie and ask us to take you seriously. I need you to see these people don't even know what they're watching. Like when he forces his daughters to rewatch a classic film. He was talking about be humble. You missed the whole message. There are many moments like this in King Richard where he is simultaneously presented as a man to be both feared and respected, even by Orsine, who is not his child, but someone who is supposed to be his equal. She was his equal. She was his equal as his wife. They clearly portrayed that. You don't remember the scene where She's quiet, then afterwards says, "Don't you ever do that again." You don't remember the scene where he tries to drive off and she tells him, "Don't you ever leave my daughters." You don't remember how he grew as a result. When the Nike contract comes around, he gives it to Venus to make the decision. And she says no. And he says, "Let's go eat." You can't make your own movie and then write a review about it and basically leave out the facts of what happened in the movie. But again, this is what you get. You know, I kind of wanted to come. I know a lot of people still are waiting to see this movie. King Richard, please do see it. Because I think it's a phenomenal film. I don't want to go all the way back to give you an image of the film. I think it's a film that captures the love of a black family, the forces that fight against that black family succeeding, the love a black man can have for his daughters, despite their unique differences, the love between a black mother and a black father in all of the right ways. And I think that everyone that's listening right now deserves a chance to actually take part and watch that as well. I just wanted to come to you today and kind of go over this. I'm glad we got a few calls. I know a lot of people still are waiting to see it. Just came out. Please support this channel. Go to tonetalks.org, subscribe or donate, share this. My Patreon's Tone Talks. Man, we're going to keep the discussion going. I have no idea what people are chirping about. But one thing they can't chirp about is how phenomenal King Richard was. Thank you for a great film to Venus, Serena, and Will Smith.